But are we eclipsing the fact that so many people have crossed into the country unvetted with these particular campaigns with no real detailed plan from either party, sadly?
Why can't we have a mature conversation about policy? And I think both parties here have gone to the extremes to appease their extremist base. On the one hand, you have the Democratic Party, my party, that talks about border policy, talks about immigration policy, but hey, we got to shut some of this down. You can't have thousands of people crossing every day. It's a humanitarian disaster, it's a national security issue, and it's a political problem. We're going to be losing votes all over Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, and so on and so forth. On the other hand, the Republican Party uses this as a political issue. We had a bipartisan deal. We had a bipartisan deal drafted by one of the most conservative members of the Senate, Senator Langford of Oklahoma. But you know who pulled the plug on that? Donald J. Trump. Not because it was a bad deal, not because it didn't provide enough protection at the border, not because it did not provide a bipartisan agreement on something that was pretty much actually on the right. Democrats made a lot of concessions. The only reason this man pulled the plug on it was that it would be considered a victory when he is not president, and he wanted to use, let me rephrase, he wanted to abuse this issue for political gain. So both parties here are guilty. I think in this particular instance, the Republican Party has used this issue politically. Democrats got to own up to this too. You cannot have an immigration policy when you have a completely open border. I'm not saying it's entirely open, but there are major, major flaws. But let's go back to some of the promises made and not kept. Trump didn't build that wall. You know, he said he's going to build this wall from border to border. Very few miles were built. And as far as I recall, Mexico did not pay for it. But it doesn't mean building a wall is a bad idea. It doesn't mean adding extra measures and measures for modern security using technology is a bad idea.
Do you think Harris, as president, would go for a wall when President Biden was vocal against it?
She should. That's what I'm saying. The flaws with both parties. Again, I'm an immigrant. My family, they're all immigrants. And we're very proud of the fact. Having said that, I understand there is a need for legal immigration. I also understand there are asylum seekers. There are really bad places in the world, and people come to this country for hope and shelter. People come here for economic opportunities, for political freedom, for a whole host of reasons. And that's a great thing. We still have a lot of room in this country. We still have a lot of potential. But it's got to be done in a manner where you don't have 4,000 people, 20 or 12,000 people crossing every day, right, where we don't even know who's coming and who's going. It's a national security issue. And there is nothing xenophobic or racist about having borders. I just don't understand this extremist argument sometimes that people say, well, just asking people where you're from or where you're coming from, or you have to actually do it legally is racist. No, it's not. On the other hand, talking about deportations of people with families who've never committed a crime. We have people, I'm from California. We have people in California who have lived decent lives, contributed so much to the economy. Our family people have not violated so much as a misdemeanor, let alone a felony, and they might get deported. There has to be a pathway for someone who spent all these years in America. Some of these kids, some of these people my age were born here. Well, not born here, but they came here at a very early age, but illegally without any documentation. They're Americans. I mean,
I don't think that the Trump campaign is going to go back in the records and deport every single person who crossed illegally for the past decade. But I think that these recent people who have crossed over illegally, that is justifiably a crime, even though there are some who would say it's not. And that's the targeted group they're talking about deporting. But can I just really quickly, we have literally no time, but I wanted to get your thoughts on this because I like your conversation, honestly. Vice President Harris was actually tasked with using this solution, Central America Forward, to address the root causes of immigration, wanting to inject jobs and internet access and finances from the U.S. into these Central American countries. Is that going to come back to haunt her? Again, I don't want to talk about what her title was or what it should be or what the Republicans said it is. That's irrelevant. But the fact that she's had the opportunity to lead in this particular facet of campaigning and of politics, dealing with our immigration system, and has not. How can she rebound from that while running for president?
It's a big problem to face. There's no doubt about it. I don't think this administration gets a good passing grade on the border and on immigration issues. Not only that, there are a lot of people who are qualified to be here, to come here. There are people getting their PhDs at MIT and Stanford and Caltech, but they're getting kicked out of this country because they can't get a visa to stay here. That also doesn't make sense. What Kamala Harris should do, and I think what Democrats should do, and if we want to win an election and have good, not just good politics, but good policy, is this.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.